Hey guys, welcome back to another video in our React for Beginners series. So in this video, we will continue to enhance our contact manager app and we will learn how to do CRUD operations in React using Axios. We will also set up the JSON server for our fake APIs. Let me show you the demo that we are going to build in this video. So this is the application that we are going to build, and if we want to do the CRUD operations, the first one will be the create. So if we want to create a contact, then I can simply take a name of test and test@gmail.com, and if I click on add, then we actually make an API call as a post, and the new record is created in our JSON server. So if I want to edit it, then I will click on the edit button, and let's make this to test123, and let's click on the update. So if I click on the update, we are going to make another API call for the update of the record. And if I want to delete it, then we can do the deletion. And if I want to read all the records, then I just refresh it and I get all the records. And this is our JSON server, and we have created a resource as contacts. And if I click on this contact, then you will see the data we have in our contact array. So this is going to be a very interesting video, and we will learn about the Axios in React, how to make the API calls, fetch the data from the server, and then update our states accordingly for the updated data. So if this sounds interesting, then stick around, and also don't forget to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon so that you don't miss the videos like this one. So let's get started. Alright guys, so I am using the same application code which we have built in our previous videos, the React fundamentals and React router. If you are new and you have missed the previous videos, then I recommend you to watch that first. So what we are going to do first, we are going to set up a JSON server so that we can have our fake APIs. So let me take you the GitHub page of the JSON server. So this is the GitHub page of the JSON server, and here you can see that the JSON server follows the RESTful API conventions. So I'm going to explain you what the RESTful API convention is a little bit so that you can have a good idea. And then you can see that my JSON server, from here you can actually they have the steps to create the JSON server. So we need to do an npm install of a JSON server, and then we need to just create a db.json file and the resource which we want. So let's go to our Visual Studio Code and let's do the setup. So I am in the Visual Studio Code, and first we will create a new folder, and I'm going to name it as server API. And then let's go to the terminal, and from the terminal I'm going to go to the server API, and we will do an npm init -es to create the package.json file. So this is going to create the package.json file, and now if we see in the package.json file, we have the default information about the package.json. So let's install the JSON server. So I'm going to do npm install -save JSON-server. And this is going to take some while. So meanwhile, let's understand the REST API convention. So let me show you a slide that will help you to understand the REST convention very easily. So we are going to create a resource with the name of contacts, and on this resource we can actually do the CRUD operations. We can create a new resource, we can update a resource, we can delete a resource, or we can fetch the resources. So this is what the JSON server follows the RESTful API convention. Alright, so now our JSON server is installed, and next thing we will do is we are going to create a file called db.json. So inside the db.json, we are going to create our resource, which will be a JSON object. So if you don't know about JSON, I have a complete crash course on JSON. I will add the link in the description, or you can click on the card above and jump to it directly. So the name of our resource will be contacts. So let's go and add the contacts, and this will be an array. So what we are going to do, let's start our application first. Let's go to the terminal, and I have already started, I guess. So yeah, my application is already started. So let's go and visit the application on the browser. All right, so this is our application, and let me adjust the screens. All right, so now I have adjusted the screen, and right now what we are doing is if we are adding any of the contact, then the contact is being stored in the local storage. So we will go to inspect it, and we are going to go to the application, And from the application, I'm just going to copy this, and then I'm going to use this in the JSON server. So if I want to use it here, I'm going to add this here, and I will just remove this, and I'm going to remove this. All right, so we have initially added some data in our contacts array, which we can use it in the React application. So we need to do one more thing. We actually want to go to the scripts, and we are going to remove this. And instead of this, we are going to add a start here, and the value of the start will be JSON server hyphen p, and then we are going to give a port number, and we will write hyphen w so that we can watch our db.json file whenever there is a changes. All right, now I have saved it, and we need to do one thing. We need to start our JSON server. So let's go here and let's go to cd server API, and now we are going to do npm start, and this is going to start our JSON server. So let the JSON server get start. So it's already started at localhost uh, 3006, and let's go and visit it. All right, so we can see the JSON server is started, and if I click on the context, I can see my 2 records. So now what we need to do is we need to make changes in our React application so that we can fetch the data from the JSON server and not from the local storage. So I'm going to go to app.js. So this is the app.js. I'm going to minimize this. All right, so now we are in the app.js, and we can see that here we actually retrieve the context from the local storage. So before we make any changes, we need to install the Axios. So let's go to the terminal and install the Axios. Cd contact app, and I'm going to do npm install hyphen hyphen save Axios. So this is going to install the Axios, and after that we can use the Axios. So meanwhile it gets installed, I'm going to create a new directory here, and I'm going to name the directory as API. And inside this, I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to name it as contacts.js. So this file will be our Axios base file. So I'm going to import Axios from Axios. All right, and here we are going to do an export default Axios dot create, and this create will take an object, and inside the object we are going to define our base URL. So our base URL, we can get it from this localhost 3006. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to add this here. All right, and now our Axios is installed. So now we can make changes in our application. So I will go to the app.js, and inside the app.js, this is the code where we actually retrieve our data from the local storage. So I'm going to comment this out, and instead of this, what I will do, I will first create a function which will be actually used for the fetching of the data. So I will write here, before that, let's import the API. So I'm going to import API from /API/contacts. All right, so now we have imported the APIs, and let's write the retrieve contacts. So this function will actually retrieve the contacts. I'm going to write constant retrieve contacts. This will be equals to an arrow function, and then I'm going to do a constant. This is going to give me a response, and I'm going to use the API dot get, and this will be a get call. So for the get call, I'm going to do the /contacts, and we are going to use the async and await because we want this to be an asynchronous mode, and it should be returning a promise. So if you don't know about async await and how to use them, then I have a video on it. I will add the link in the description, or you can click on the card above. So I'm going to add an async keyword here, and I'm going to add await here. All right, and this, we are going to return the response from here. So let's return the response from here. All right, and this will get the data in the response dot data, and I will remove this because we are going to use it in the use effect. So now let's go to the use effect, and in this use effect we are going to write so we have actually returned the retrieve contact function outside the use effect so that it can be reusable for other purposes as well. So now here what I will do, I'm going to create a constant and I'm going to write get all contacts, and this will be an async and arrow function, and this is going to return all contacts, and these contacts will be equal to await retrieve. I'm going to call the retrieve contact function here, and then if this has the contacts, then I need to update the state. So we are doing the same thing, but in this case we are fetching the data from the server and not from the local storage. So similarly we are going to do the set contacts, and we are going to add the all contacts. All right. And now if I save it, then I should be able to fetch the data, but I'm not able to fetch the data because I need to call this function. So let's call this function. All right. And now if I save it, then I should be able to get the data. So now this data, we are fetching it from the API and not from the local storage. So if I go and I delete the local storage, all right, now I have deleted the local storage, but I still able to fetch the data because we are getting this data from the API, and we still see the data here, and that is because that we are using the set item. So if I comment this out, then we will no longer be able to see it. So I will remove this, and now if I refresh it, then we don't have any data in our local storage. So let's go to the network tab and see the API. All right, so now if I refresh it, then we see that we have the contacts. Now let's do and write the code for the add contact so that we can make a create operation. So I will go to the add contacts, and inside the add contact, I already get the contact. And here what I'm going to do, I am simply going to create a new request first. So I'm going to create a request, and inside the request, I'm going to have the ID. So I will have the ID which will be generated from the UUID utility. All right, and then we are going to have the contact. So let's have the contact here. So I'm doing the destructuring of the contact. So this is the same thing I am doing it, but I'm keeping this in a separate constant variable, which is a request. And after that, I will create the API call. So I'm going to do a constant, which will give me a response, and I will write the API dot post. So this is the Axios post call, and we know the URL. So the URL will still be the contacts as it's a REST convention. So we have the same resource. And the second parameter will be the request body which you want to send. So I'm going to add the request here. And we will be using the async await. So I'm going to add async here, and I will add the await here. All right. And once we receive the data, which is the response, we have to set this response in our state because our state will get changed. So I'm going to copy this and I will add the state here. So this response will be the new state. So now let's save it and let's try to add something. So I'm going to add Amit. And here I'm going to add Amit at the Gmail. And if I click on add, then I am not getting the data. So that means something is wrong. So if we see here, all right, so we actually made a mistake. So this should be data here, response dot data. And if I do the response dot data, so let's add a new one. So I'm going to add this time as Mike and Mike, and if I click, then I will be able to see the Mike John. And why we added this response dot data, we can see actually do a console dot log, and we can log the response here. So let's log the response, go here and do the inspect element in the console. Let's clear the console, and I'm going to add as max, and this will be max. And if I click on add, then oops, I made a mistake. This response should be after the response is being initialized. So now let's go back and go to the add contact, do the inspect element, and now add here max. I'm going to add the max, and let's click on add. So we can see that the actual response is this, and we get the data which is in the response dot data. So this is our data. So we need to add here as a response dot data. All right, so now we have created two operations. The one is the fetch all the data, which is the get call, and other one is the adding a new contact, which is a post call. Let's do the delete one. So for the delete, we have already doing this part here, the remove uh, contact handler, and we just need to do a small slight change to call the API here. Do the async first. So this will be an async, and inside this we are going to create an await, because when we delete it we are not getting any response, we are just going to get a status code. So I'm going to do API dot delete this time, and this delete method I'm going to do the backticks, and this will have the contacts, and we will have the ID. We need to pass the ID which we want to delete. So let me add the ID. All right, and the rest thing will be the same. So if I refresh it and if I do an inspect element, I will go to the network tab. All right, and I'm going to delete the max. So if I click on the max, then you will see that we don't get anything back, but in the status code we get the status code as 200 and the request method is delete. So our max is deleted. If I want to delete Mike, Mike will get deleted. If I want to delete Amit, Amit will get deleted. And for the last one, which is the update one, so for that we don't have at the moment any functionality to the edit. So let's create the functionality quickly. So the edit will be very similar to the add contact. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste this again, and I will just rename this, and this will become edit. I will remove this. All right, and inside this we are going to change this to edit. So this will become edit, and this will become edit. All right, and then we will change this to update, and we are going to change this to update. All right, we also need to go to the contact card, and inside the contact card we need to add the edit icon. So I'm going to copy this and I will add this again here, and I will change this to edit outline icon, and I will add here a margin so that we can get a space left of 10 pixel. So we want to change the color, so this color will be blue, and when we click on the edit we need to add a link here, and we are going to pass the same information, because while doing the edit we actually need the ID of the contact which we want to edit. Okay, so we have the, and the path will, we will change the path to edit. So this will be the edit, and we will still need the props so that we can have the ID. So now let's go to the edit contact and make the changes on the edit contact. What I will do, I'm going to create a constructor, and this constructor will have the props, and inside the props we are going to add the super props. All right, so I want that when my edit component get initialized, I need to add the state. I need to change the state. So for that, the data which I pass from this state will be, I can use that as a props. So these props will help us to update the state. So I'm going to do a constant, and I will do the destructuring of ID, name, and email. And this we will get it from the props dot location dot state dot contact. So if you don't know what I am doing, then I would recommend you to watch the prerequisite video of this, which is the React router, because all this part is a part of React router. Let's initialize the state. So the initial value of the state will be, this ID will be equal to the ID which I'm getting from the props. The name should be the name which I'm getting from the props. The email should be the value which I'm getting from the props. And as the ES6, we have the key and the value as same, we can actually eliminate this. We don't want to add this. All right, and let's save this. So now we have added this, and we don't have a route actually. So let's go to the app.js and let's add a route here. So I'm going to add a route here. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to add a route with an edit, and this will become edit contact. and we are going to pass a handler which will be the update contact. So I'm going to change this to update contact, and this will become update contact. All right, we have the update contact handler, but we need to define the update contact function. So let's go and write the update contact function. So this is the add contact, and here we are going to write the update contact. So I'm going to do constant update contact handler will be equals to an arrow function. All right, so now we have it. And now if I click on the edit, I should be able to go to the edit. So if I click on back again, then if I click on edit, then I should be able to edit, but something is wrong and everything is getting deleted. So let's go back to the contact card, and inside the contact card we can see that we have this function which we just copy pasted from the trash icon. So I don't need to do this one, so I will remove this. All right, and let's save it, and we need to add more contacts. So I'm going to add the contact as Nikesh and add. So we get this. Now if I click on edit, I can see this. If I go back, and I can see this. So we need to add two buttons here. First, the button for the added, this should not be add, this should be update. So let's change this to update. And the second thing we need to do is we need to make this as edit contact. So I'm going to do an edit contact. All right, so now we have the edit and we have the update. So if I click on the update, we are going to get an error because this is the contact handler. So we have to change this contact handler to the one which we passed. So the contact handler which we passed is the update contact handler. So let's copy this and let's add this here. All right. And now we have the update contact handler. This is going to give the state which will contain the ID, name, and email address, so all the three fields. And then once we are done with it, we are going to clear the fields, and then we are going to go back to our contact list. So if I click on the update now, then it should be able to call this function, which is the update contact handler. So let's write this update contact handler. So this update contact handler will get the state, which is the contact, and let's do it as a sync. All right, and then this will do a response of a wait, and then we are going to do a put call. So this will be a put string literal. So I'm going to write the contact slash, and we need to pass the ID. So this ID will be the contact which we received, and I'm going to do the dot ID. All right. And then what will be the new values? The new values will be in the contact which we have passed. So this will be the new value. So we have taken the ID of this contact here, and we have added the contact here, which will be the new values. So once we make the update, the next thing we need to do is we need to actually update the state with the new value. Because if I do a console log, I will do a console log of the response dot data. All right, I'll save it, and let's go to the inspect element. Let's clear the console. And now if I click on the update, you will actually see that we make an API call in the network request. And this is a put call with the 200, so the successful. And in the console, we see that we get the new updated value, which we have updated in the database. So what we are going to do, we need to update our state with this new value. So to update the state, we are going to do a manipulation on the current state. So to the manipulation on the current state, we are going to use the set contacts. And whenever you want to manipulate the data in the array, you can actually use a map function. So I'm going to take the contacts, and then I'm going to map the contacts, and this is going to give me a contact. All right, and this will be an arrow function. And let's do the destructuring of the data that we are receiving from the response. So I'm going to do a destructure of ID, name, and email, and these values will come from response.data. All right, and the next thing we'll do is we are actually going to return the first. We will make a check that if the contact which we have, the ID of it is equal to the ID which we have it here, If it's equal to ID, then we are going to manipulate that object. So I'm going to use the response dot data. So this is the new object. But if it doesn't matches, then I want to return the old contact, whatever it was. All right. And now if I save it, then I should be able to see. So now everything is okay. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on edit and I'm going to edit it as Nikesh Singh. All right. And now if I click on update, then it should update it immediately. And we have made the API call. So let's go and add a new contact. So I'm going to do a Mike John, and this will become Mike. If I click on add, then I'm able to add a new contact. So that's how you can use Axios and you can do the CRUD operations in React. So if I want to delete it, I can delete it. If I want to edit it, I can actually edit it immediately, and everything is happening fine. All right. So I hope this video was very useful, and because this is what you actually do when you are working on a real project. You just need to do one thing. If you have the real APIs, you are going to go to the contacts, and here you need to change your base URL. Once you change the base URL, this code will be able to adapt the APIs and the data from the actual server and will be able to do the CRUD operations. So I hope you like this video. A thumbs up is appreciated. Also, I'm going to add the link of the code in the description so that you can download it and you can have a reference. So that GitHub repository will contain all the 3 projects, but these projects will be in the branches. So you will have a master branch. You are going to have another branch will be a React router, and this will be a third branch will be a React CRUD Axios. So you can get the complete code in those branches. Also, don't forget to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon so that you don't miss the videos like this one. Also, you can connect with me via Facebook or Instagram. You can also follow me on Twitter for latest updates. And thanks for watching.